Welcome to a place where the walls remember and they never forget. Tonight, we're exploring the world's most haunted houses, homes once filled with love, now consumed by fear. From ghostly whispers in the attic to shadowy figures watching from the hallway, these aren't just stories, they're chilling encounters that defy explanation. Turn down the lights and enter if you dare, because once you cross the threshold, you may never feel alone again. This isn't my story. It's something I heard a long time ago from a close friend of mine, Michael, someone I really trust. The way he told it felt so real that I still get chills just thinking about it. This is the story Michael told me. Some years ago, Michael's grandpa passed away. Michael had always been incredibly close to his grandpa since he was little. At the funeral, he cried openly, sobbing uncontrollably despite his age. Exactly 7 days after his grandpa's passing, something strange happened. That day, strong winds swept through the area where Michael lived, so strong that a storm warning had been issued. The bus ride home from school was slow and cautious, stopping frequently. He finally arrived home a little after 7:30 p.m. As he pulled out his key and unlocked the front door, he noticed that the door to his room, which was directly in front of the entrance, slowly creaked open, as if it had been waiting for him. Inside, the lights were on. So was the TV. Even the space heater, the only source of warmth in the room, was running. Maybe his mom had turned everything on to make it cozy for him. Feeling oddly comforted, Michael stepped inside. But something was off. There was no welcome home. The house was completely silent. Then he remembered. His family had gone out of town the night before for his grandfather's memorial service. No one was supposed to be home. Michael had stayed behind because of an important exam he couldn't miss. He'd been really upset about not being able to attend the memorial. That night he had lit a candle and quietly offered a prayer, whispering words of thanks in his heart, hoping somehow they'd reach his grandpa, now standing alone in the silent house. A wave of unease hit him. If it wasn't his mom who warmed the room, then who? A sudden image flashed in his mind. A scene from a movie he'd once seen, where a ghostly figure appeared in a dark room. He tried to brush the thought away. Maybe it wasn't a ghost, but what if it was a burglar? Michael crept toward the door to his room and peeked in. Inside, seated with his back to the doorway, was his grandpa. The same grandpa who had passed away a week earlier. The moment Michael recognized him, all fear disappeared. Despite being terrified of horror movies, something about seeing his grandpa filled him with warmth. Even if this was a ghost, it was his grandpa. That changed everything. Tears welled up in Michael's eyes. His grandpa coughed his familiar cough a few times, then scratched his bald head in that same awkward motion Michael remembered. "Grandpa," he called out. His grandpa slowly stood up and turned around. But something was wrong. His movements were stiff and unnatural. As he turned, his outline seemed to bend in ways that didn't make sense. His face was discolored, an odd, reddish hue that looked off. "Oh, oh, Michael, Michael, is that you?" It was his grandpa's voice, familiar, but the tone was all wrong. Flat, robotic, lifeless. When his grandpa was alive, he had a thick southern accent, but now his voice sounded like it had been generated by a computer. Grandpa swayed side to side, then slowly stepped forward. Michael frowned. "Grandpa, what's wrong?" His grandpa coughed again and scratched the back of his head, just like before. "Grandpa, did you come back home?" His grandpa looked up toward the ceiling as if searching for an answer. "Oh, oh, Michael, Michael, is that you?" The exact same words, repeated in the exact same way. That's when a chill crept into Michael's spine. Was this really Grandpa? He noticed something dripping from his grandpa's hand, a dark, reddish-purple liquid, forming a small pool on the carpet. Looking closer, Michael saw his arm was twisted unnaturally. His elbow bent the wrong way. Worse, the length from shoulder to elbow looked distorted, too long, almost stretched. Grandpa had never looked like this. This thing wasn't Grandpa. Michael began to slowly back away, trying not to make a sound. Then, as if it sensed his fear, the figure's neck stretched, longer than any human neck should, and its face turned sharply toward him. It had noticed him. In an instant, the face was right in front of him, unnaturally close. Only the upper body had moved, warping and extending like rubber. A strange bubbling sound came from its mouth, and a thick foam of reddish-purple froth spilled from its lips. "Oh, oh, Michael, Michael, is that you?" The same phrase. Again, Michael screamed. Then he ran, pure instinct driving him, straight to the nearest convenience store, the only place he could think of that was well lit and safe. Then he ran, pure instinct driving him, straight to the nearest convenience store, the only place he could think of that was well lit and safe. He stayed there for a while, too afraid to return home alone. It wasn't until after 9 p.m., when his family came back, that he finally went back to the house. He told them everything, but his father just shook his head. "It was just a dream," he said. No one believed him. That night, Michael had to sleep in the same room where that figure had appeared. He lay awake, his mind spinning. Every time he closed his eyes, that red face appeared behind his eyelids. Eventually, exhaustion won out, and he drifted off to sleep. When morning came, Michael felt a strange itch on his face. He went to the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and froze. His face was damp with the same reddish-purple liquid. It gave off a sharp, stinging smell, and when he touched it, the texture was slimy. From that day on, Michael never slept in his room again. He still says, even now, that wasn't Grandpa. It was something terrifying, something pretending to be the man I loved. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, I started waking up in the middle of the night for no apparent reason. It wasn't just a sleepy stirring. It felt like something yanked me out of my dreams. My eyes would snap open, my small heart thudding in my chest, and I would feel it before I saw it. He was always there, a man, standing just outside my bedroom window, staring in, perfectly still, silent. His face, pale and expressionless, was barely visible in the moonlight, but his eyes, those I remember most, wide, unblinking, locked onto mine. He never moved, never spoke, just stared. The first time it happened, I was too scared to scream. I pulled the blanket over my head and waited for morning. When the sun finally crept in, I convinced myself it had just been a dream. But it happened again, and again. Our house was old, over 100 years, my mom used to say. It creaked and groaned even on calm nights. My bedroom window overlooked our front porch, which was screened in and had a single door that locked from the inside. No one could get in without a key. There was no way someone could be out there. That made it worse. By the third night, my fear turned into panic. I finally gathered enough courage to bolt from my room and run straight into my parents' bedroom. I shook my mom awake, sobbing that there was a man watching me sleep from outside my window. Groggy and confused, she followed me through the dark hallway and out to the porch. The door was still locked. Everything was quiet. No footprints, no signs of anyone, just the still, stale air of an old house at rest. She looked around, then turned to me with a tired smile. "There's no one here, sweetheart," she said. "You've just got a big imagination." That word, imagination, stuck. It became the explanation for everything. My parents laughed it off, and so did other adults when I told them about the man. Eventually, I started calling him my imagination. I tell people, my imagination watches me sleep at night. They'd laugh. I didn't, because he never stopped. Even as the months went by, he returned, always the same, standing outside that window, unmoving, watching. Sometimes I'd hear faint tapping on the glass, like fingernails clicking against it. Once, I saw mist forming around him, swirling in unnatural patterns, though there was no fog outside. Another time I woke to find the window slightly ajar, though it had been locked the night before. No one believed me. Eventually, we moved out of that house. I stopped seeing him after that. But I never forgot those eyes. A few years ago, curiosity got the better of me. I searched online for any history of our old home. I found an article buried in the archives of a local newspaper. A man had died on that porch nearly 100 years ago. The story said he was a vagrant who'd frozen to death during a bitter winter night after getting trapped when the door somehow locked behind him. He was found leaning against the window, eyes open, staring in.
Thanks for tuning in. Watch another video if you dare.